Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you?
I am good, and yourself?
I am great. I am super excited about the things we're going to talk about, and
Awesome.
just really happy that you put this article in front of me.
Yeah,
So
I know. I thought it was pretty cool.
yeah, so it's about nine things every retired person should do. And what I thought, just because I'm a big believer in Stephen Covey, that whole begin with the end in mind thing, I thought, oh, why don't we do this show based on what people can do and how they ought to think before they retire? Because these are the activities they ought to do when they retire. So
Mm-hmm.
especially since I focus mostly on the accumulation stage, which is bringing money in, rather than the decumulation stage, which is actually sending money out.
Right.
So, how about if I read your bio and then we'll get right into it, and I'll even let you talk? How's that?
Sounds fantastic.
Well, hello, everyone. Please welcome my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell, to the show along with yourselves. And Crystal is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, a co director of Recycling Black Dollars, the co host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. It's another weekly online radio show that she does, an
Mhm.
instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, how are
I'm good. I'm good. Another Monday.
you? Another Monday. Yeah.
Another Monday. And I guess the day before, what is it? Halloween, I guess. Although I think people did their Halloween partying this weekend. Not me, but other people.
Oh, do you Halloween party? Do you do the Halloween thing? No.
No, not since I'm usually so tired by Friday and Saturday that I'm thinking about what I can do at home to not do anything at all.
I totally understand that. Totally understand that. Yeah.
So no. How about yourself?
Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh
Not since
yeah, well yeah,
much
I
younger.
forgot. Yeah. Well, but other than that, I'm good. I'm good. So good conversation we're gonna have today. Like
Yeah.
I said, the start it before the end it.
Yeah, let's jump right in. We've got
Okay.
nine topics to go over. We're going to go over three of them today. Three of them, and we'll call it three and a bonus. And
Okay.
it might take us a little while to get through them. So hopefully we can stay pretty close to that half hour mark so that folks aren't rolling their eyes at me.
Okay.
So, top three. Number one is review your spending and income plan at least once a year. I think this is an amazing thing to do that we should do now, but understand that once you retire, it's going to be dramatically important. And I want to bring up here one thing that has always surprised me throughout all of these nine is that they never say talk with your financial advisor or get a financial advisor to help you with this. And I think that can make your life dramatically easy. So I'm going to suggest for just about everyone that I can imagine, having a financial advisor to help you do each of these nine steps is important. Uh, what do you think about that?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, for sure. Always that's the case. You should speak to your financial person because they can help you see things that you don't see.
Yeah, especially in the
Yeah.
case of this one, where we're looking at the amount of money that we're going to be actually spending, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, this is how much I'm going to be spending. So I need to make sure I have this amount saved, and I need to make sure that, um, that those numbers work out right. Often we find out when we get into retirement that we're spending dramatically more money than we thought we were going to.
Yeah.
One reason is that even though we're not doing the dry cleaning, and if that was one of your jobs, or you're not doing as much laundry, that kind of thing, people decide they want to visit their grandkids more often. They have time to do those things that they didn't think they were able to do when they were younger, and so that costs money. So reviewing your spending and income, or preparing to do that while you are still working, I think is a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they can actually, like you do with retirement, they can interject stuff that you don't even think about that could actually be a major, create a major effect on your monies every month when it comes to retirement. So yeah, no, always a good advice. Always good advice.
Yeah, you're so right. Uh, it just seems that it's so easy to not count everything until you actually put it down on paper and until you actually ask somebody about it. And then, unfortunately, stuff comes up that you didn't know about. Like, for example, you need extra money for someone who you want to support, or for one of your kids goes to college, you need to support them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Someone comes to live with you and you need some extra money there. So, your spending and income plan can change in a heartbeat, and it's always good to evaluate that. And then,
Right.
when you're preparing for retirement, that budget, that's going to be key for the amount of money that you need to save, so that you can decide, oh, do I need to work another year? Do I need to put Social Security off another year? Or do I need to go ahead and collect this now and make a different decision?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's move on to number two. And I think this one's really, really good. I hadn't actually put it in these words before, but number two is make sure your portfolio reflects your current risk capacity, not just your risk tolerance. And we talk about
Mhm.
risk tolerance in the what we call the accumulation stage. It is why you're saving money. How much risk can you handle? But we don't talk about risk capacity until you actually leave. And risk capacity is an interesting way of saying, okay, if your portfolio goes down X, what are you going to do? It has a little bit to do with maybe a large commitment that you're going to have to make during retirement. A large commitment you're going to have to pay for, like suddenly someone breaks their leg, or suddenly you got to take that trip to Saudi Arabia, wherever it is, right? This large thing that happens.
Or a
That,
new roof on your house or plumbing.
yeah. So it's for that reason that I always say, hey, when you're planning on retirement, always, always, always get yourself an emergency fund first, right? Or during that time. And so when you are in retirement, you want to review that emergency fund. That emergency fund is not going away. You still need to have that so that you can, just in case something happens to your quote unquote retirement dollars, you've got it there. So let's say that you're going to live on, let's say $2,000 a month,
Mhm.
and you've set up your annuities and your Social Security and the amount of money that you're going to pull out of your retirement plan so that you generate $2,000 a month. And that's pretty much all you really need, right? Is that money.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, then the emergency comes. And all of a sudden, instead of $2,000 a month, you need $4,000 for that particular month.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing because you know it's going to be coming next month. You know you can handle it. You've got the money. Okay, okay. But what often happens though is we pay off that $4,000 bill, and now the amount of money that we have in the market to generate more money has gone down dramatically, right?
Mm.
So the growth that you were thinking you were going to have is really not there. Okay. So what do you do? Well, what you want to do so that you don't get into that situation is get yourself that emergency fund. That just like you had when you were growing your assets, have that emergency fund. Maybe it's 6 to 8 months of your salary that you're going to need just in case something happens. You've got 6 months salary saved up. Maybe it's however it is. Maybe it's a year, so whatever it is. We're going to take that money and we're going to put it away someplace. And this article does an interesting job of telling you where to put it. But I would say you want to put it someplace that maybe you're going to get some growth out of it, but I like the idea of putting it someplace away from your regular monies, but someplace that you can get at it if you need it. So putting
Right.
it in a 3 to 6 month CD, I don't think that's a good idea, right? Putting it
No.
in a short-term bond fund, something like that, that's fair, that's really liquid. I like that kind of deal. Something where you can get maybe a modicum of growth on it, but in actuality, that's just money just in case something goes wrong. And I know
Right.
a lot of us, I know a lot of us, and it could be a continuation of the money that you had when you were saving up. I like those emergency fund things. And now the federal government is actually helping people do that inside their 401ks. So it's always a good idea to have, okay, this is how much money I have coming in. Okay, that's good. And what if an emergency happens? Okay, let me tap that emergency fund. That's what that's for.
And since the pandemic, we have to even look at it even more so because 6 months was always the recommended amount or time frame, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when the pandemic happened, we realized that hey, maybe 6 months is not enough. You know,
Yeah.
maybe a year is a little bit more, or maybe even a little bit longer than that, because you never know. We live in a very volatile time right now, so yeah, 6 months and 6 months may not be enough. It wasn't enough during the pandemic. And if you happen to, I know some friends of mine that it was so fast. She was just that type of person that she had her she had her she had a 2 year emergency fund and contingency fund, and she lost her job, and it went on beyond that 2 years. So sometimes we think that it will work, and sometimes it does not.
There you go. We can only do what we can do, right? When it comes to
Right.
planning, which is where we are here. Um,
Hmm.
that's a great start. I think if you can swing it 2 years, I don't know very many people can do that. So bully for her for getting that done. And shoot, when you're out of your job for more than 2 months, ouch. That's or 2 years. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah, that's a tough one.
harsh. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Then,
it's a tough one. But
yeah.
yeah, but no, definitely having an emergency fund for those emergencies. And I think like I remember my mom's friends when they were get all preparing for um, for retirement. They bought their motor home like 5 years in because they had some plans. Some of them downsized their homes because they were just the two of them and they were going to plan on doing a lot of travel. So they sold their homes and got condos, and they moved to more more uh,
Inexpensive. Pieces.
inexpensive places, so that but still nice. Or they moved to communities, senior communities, but they had a plan. They had a plan
Uh-huh.
for what that looked like. If you reduce the house, the home, then of course you are not have those expenses. Move into something slightly newer.
Sometimes that's the deal. I
Yeah.
think it can be a really tough decision as well. Uh,
Hmm.
we want to stay close to our families, and sometimes that's tough to do. We want to stay in an area that we have certain opportunities that we may not have someplace where we're close to the theater, we're close to the coffee shop, we're close to the library, and we may need to
Hmm.
move some places that don't allow that, and that can be tough. So I definitely feel for folks that are in that situation where they've got to make some really big decisions about their quality of life. Um, on the other hand, paying for that quality of life might be kind of difficult. So
Right.
it definitely takes some creativity. And I think, back to our first point about your spending and income plan and having a financial advisor there, that's part of the job of your financial advisor, I think, is not to just look at your assets that you have, but look at, okay, how do we make this work? I need to go to this town, because that's the plan. I need to go to this town because it's less expensive. Okay,
Mhm.
how do I find that place that's close to the library? How do I find that place that's close to the
Mhm.
whatever it is, right? Or maybe
Right.
we need to look at a different town that's going to have some of the amenities that I'm used to, and my grandkids can get to me, vice versa.
Mhm.
So those are really tough things um, that I think financial advisors are pretty good at sitting there and listening and working things out for you. I've never met a financial advisor that only wanted to look at the dollars and cents, because they really want to, and the experience I have, they really want to partner with the folks that they're working with. So, um, and yeah, not that they're therapists,
Right. 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 No, that's true. True that.
but
True that.
bringing that whole issue of what is your life going to look like to your financial advisor is a good idea. So risk capacity, um, that's really cool. What amount of money, what amount of money can you lay your hands on so that you feel secure? And the same with that emergency fund when you're preparing to retire, that allows you a little bit more freedom, right? You've heard of the $1 million bag women. We've got a lot of folks like that. They've got tons of money in the bank or in their accounts, and they don't spend it. They're afraid to spend the money because they're afraid that shoe is going to drop, and then what are they going to do?
Right.
So
Right.
for those folks especially, okay, let's get that emergency fund that's set up just in case the shoe drops. You don't have to pull from the money that you're living on every day. You can pull from that little bit over there, and then okay, now how do you enjoy your life, right? How do you enjoy your life? And so I would say, as a retirement plan advisor, these are the things you want to think about when you're starting to think about, okay, when am I going to retire? What resources am I going to have? Stick that emergency fund, that quote unquote risk capacity fund, in the mix. Right. So,
Mhm.
I need $2,500 to live on. Okay, some of that's coming from Social Security, some of that's coming from here, whatever. And then, I do need 5 months or 6 months of an emergency fund just in case I need to jet off to so and so, or pay for a funeral, or I need to put that roof on my house, or whatever. And I don't want to be tied to that one piece of income there, because sometimes that stuff comes up and you got to take care of it now. You can't wait to save for it for
Mhm.
2
Mhm.
days.
Mhm.
So uh, determining what your risk capacity is, how much can I lose, or how much can I use in a time period when something funky comes up? What is that? That's my risk capacity. Something strange happens. Okay, I got $5,000 right here that I can use that in case something comes up. Right? It's not coming out of my regular stipend thing. So I think risk capacity is a really cool term. It's different than risk
Tolerant.
tolerance, which says, all right, so how the market's going to go up and down, yada yada yada. Okay, this is my risk tolerance. I am a conservative growth person. Great, and that means my amount of stocks in my bonds is X, and then I'm going to diversify, and Javon's going to help me with that, and yay, we're off and running. Okay, risk, risk capacity is if something comes up, what am I going to do? Because this is taking care of the bills. What am I going to do? And how do I know what that is? Right? Okay, Javon, should I have 3 months money put away? Or should it be 6 months? Or, like your friend, 2 years? And the answer, of course, is yes. Well, no. Well, maybe. It
Maybe.
depends. It
Well, just
depends.
knowing that you're retired, so it's not like there's money other than the monies that you've already planned to come in. It's not like you can go work overtime
Right?
and bring in some extra money. Guess you could go and be a greeter if it got really bad. Greeter at the Walmart, but no,
I'm
that's
telling you,
not in
jobs
the
fill up
plan.
quick. They fill up quick, those greeter jobs. I don't know.
Not in the plan.
Yeah. And then, of course, I think there's worthwhile debate over where you should put those funds. Should they go into some type of money market account? I would say probably not, because the problem with most money market accounts, ever since we quote unquote broke the buck, which means that you always used to have your savings and maybe just a little bit more. We can't say that.
Mhm.
There is no quote unquote guarantee. Um,
Right.
yeah, I like the idea for that cash. Got to have it money. I like for it to be liquid, and I like for it to have maybe some potential in there for growth, not a lot. So I'm not thinking this is something where we want to put all of the money in the market, like in
Right.
short-term funds or in Ginnie Mae's or something like that. I'm thinking that maybe some of it should go there where you can get a modicum of growth out of it. But I would say for me, for the folks that I know, we're going to put the bulk of that in your interest bearing checking account, or your interest bearing savings account, or this is not something you're trying to make money on. This is something where if push comes to shove, you can get it and take care of some business. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Exactly. So yeah, because you need it when you need it, right?
You need it when you need it. Yeah. You don't need to wait. You don't need to be paying penalties because you need to get it out early. Okay. So that's that. All right. So the last one for today is understanding how large withdrawals affect your savings. Right? So, and that's just okay. The money in the emergency fund is not taking care of business. Something else has happened. The roof, whatever it is, the visit, the funeral, whatever it is. Okay. Um, Stuff like that is going to happen. So then the question becomes, okay, where do I pull that from? Right? What stream of income slash money's coming in slash emergency fund do I pull that issue that would I pull money to cover that expense from? Understanding the concept that if you pull money out of your life insurance policy, that is to say, you're decreasing that cash value. That money is no longer going to be growing for you the way that it was.
Right.
Right. So having a good idea as to, okay, where should the money come from if I run into a situation? Right. That's why it's good to have that emergency fund. It's also good to know, and this is where we have to be very careful because so many people I know say, all right, why don't you just run this for me? And you don't really know where the money is coming from to handle the expenses that you have. And so
Mhm.
therefore you don't really have a good idea as to how that money is going to grow uh, or not grow because you've taken assets out of the pot. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have X amount of dollars in some type of an account that's in the market, and you have X amount of dollars that's coming to you from Social Security, X amount of dollars that's coming to you from an annuity, and you have some money in your emergency fund. And based on that, you've got monies that you're living on, and let's say you have a little bit of spare change. So you're kind of doing okay, and you're not having to touch the money over there. You don't have to touch your emergency fund. Life is just you're just cruising along, and wham! All of a sudden, something that's going to wipe out your emergency fund and the amount of money that you have coming in for that month, right? What are you
Right.
going to do? Okay. Well, you've got the money to take care of this. I'm thinking, like, for example, when I went into the hospital, $30,000 bill.
Yeah.
Woo! A
Right.
lot of money there. I didn't have
Right.
$30,000 just sitting around, so I had to go out of the savings and all kinds of stuff. Okay, now that I had to do that, all right, now I got to think. Okay, that money that I was using to grow, it doesn't have $30,000 in it anymore. So the growth potential of that has been decreased significantly. In my case, significantly.
Right.
Right. So now that I'm counting on 4% a year growth on this amount of money, I've got to say, oh, I'm only going to get 4% of the money on a much smaller piece. If I take it out of here, if I take it out of this emergency fund and here, then, oh, that's not going to affect my growth. I'm going to be okay come next month. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to my annuity and I say, hey, I know I'm set up on X amount of dollars to come on a month, on a monthly income, I need to take some money out of there. Okay, then, all right, the amount of money that's coming into your household, that's going to shrink perhaps dramatically. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always a good idea to know where to pull money if something happens. Does that make sense? That's what we're trying
Yeah.
to talk about.
Yeah,
Where
because you have to. I have a friend, and I think another area that you have to think about is, a lot of times, like I just said earlier, seniors move to areas that is more affordable for them, right?
Mhm.
You know, right now I have a girlfriend who her mother's been living in Vegas, and Vegas is usually a place that folks retire to on the West Coast. Um, but her mom is sick; she has cancer,
Mm.
and it turns out Vegas has the worst hospitals in the world
Oh.
if you are actually diagnosed with cancer. I don't know what it is, but they're not equipped.
Mm.
And even getting tested, and the earlier cancer is detected, the better off the treatment is going to
Sure.
be.
Yep.
So they've been trying to get her just tested to confirm where the cancer is,
Uh-huh.
and this has taken months.
Mm.
In the meantime, she's very ill. So even there, thinking that through, making sure that you go in because you're older, so things can happen to you. It's not going to just be, most people think when they retire, okay, I just need to make sure that I can take care of my blood, if I got a chronic diabetes or blood
Right.
pressure issue,
Yeah.
that. But it's so much more serious than that.
Mm.
And then in most cases, most seniors is much more serious than just your regular blood pressure medication.
Right. 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 Could
You
break a
know,
leg or
anything,
for sure. Yeah.
a hip, any of those things for older people is detrimental to them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all of those things have to go into factors. And as we have said before, this is a conversation I think should be had with not just the people, but it should be inclusive of their children.
Yeah. Especially since they're going to be the major caretakers, fitting into their life might be um, a little bit better than just springing it on them, without a little bit of planning going on there. What's going to
Right.
happen
And
next?
even that savings in this conversation we're having about, contingency plans and so forth, a lot of times the kids are not prepared financially. Their children are not prepared financially to take on the extra burden of, they just trying to take care of themselves and their families.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember playing that game Life. Do you remember that game Life?
Hmm.
Um, they had this. They had this. When you're getting your little car, some of the rules that you had to follow as you're
Yeah.
going the road there, and one of them was children. And the little caption said, you get a little bit of extra money for children, but not that much. And so, if I remember correctly, it said something like, just stuff them in the car. You don't get a bigger car. You just stuff them in, just like you normally would. And off you go. And I think that happens to a lot of families. They're like, well, just bring them on in. And there's no planning for it, right? There's
Right.
no,
No planning. Just
deal with it, and that's not always a good solution. So,
right. Exactly. Yeah. Living got to take some planning because it does cost a whole lot to add on another body to your household or to your budget.
in a lot of ways that you hadn't considered, especially
Hmm.
in this country where we tend to, I don't like to say it this way, but we kind of tend to put our old people out to pasture. We don't really keep them at home with us. So we don't
Right.
have those
Exactly.
multi-generational houses. I think hopefully that's changing. I think it's a good idea to have respect from both sides of the family living under that one roof. It doesn't always work that way, but it's a thing. It is something that's very important. Okay, so we've done a pretty good job actually there, Crystal. We've tackled three. Just as a review, one is review your spending and income plan at least once a year. So you want to take a look at what's going on, make sure you're on track, do that once a year. And the way we prepare for that in retirement, I think, is we start early with that. We say, okay, we're going to do this every year. This is where I am. And we do that with a financial advisor. That's that one add in there. Number two is take a look at your risk capacity. What are you going to do if you get a bill from out of nowhere, right? And my suggestion for that is to develop that emergency fund, or keep that emergency fund that you're accumulating now, right? Decide, okay, I'm pretty comfortable living at 6 months in my emergency fund. Okay, then we're going to carry that concept on to when we retire. So we've got all those assets that we're going to use for money coming in. That emergency fund has still got to be taken care of and maintained. And I'm going to suggest that we put that in a place that's extremely liquid, that we can get at it. At least a portion of it, we can get at it when we need it.
Right.
And then, of course, number three is have a good idea as to, or at least consider, where you've got your money, so that if you need to pull a chunk out of it, you know how that's going to affect your savings, and you can make plans accordingly. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I mean, that happens. You got to pull money out. And then, okay, would it be better to pull that money out of here or pull it out of here, depending on how that's going to affect my savings, my tax situation, what have you. So those are the three. And I think we got pretty close. 3 and the little bonus there. So next week we're going to talk about tax strategy. Talk broadly about that. Of course, you want to talk with a CPA, but we'll talk about tax strategy. We're going to talk about a long-term care plan, and then beneficiaries as well. So we've got that to look forward to. We'll talk a little bit about that. And that's it. So I tell you what, I'll read your bio one more time, and then I'll give you the last word. How's that?
Okay.
Let's see, what did I do with your bio? Here we go. Okay, everybody, we have been talking with my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant, the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's also the co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, another weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's also a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Okay, Crystal, take us out with the last word, ma'am.
All righty. So as always, it's always about planning, right? And being realistic in our plans. Really taking a close look at what the realities are going to be on the other side of retirement and what you're really going to need. So, and we never know what the crisis is going to be, but we should plan ahead because it's coming.
Right.
So that's all I have to say. Plan ahead.
Couldn't have said it better than that. Thank you for joining me. It's always wonderful chatting with you about this kind of thing. And we'll see everybody next week when we hit the next 3 in our Series 09.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye now.